Schick, Tony Lundgaard, Gary Smith, who is not able to be here tonight, Daniel Schneider, Andrew Robaluk, who's also not able to be here, Sarah Newton, Ann Midler, Jenny Hamilton, Nesty Perron, Norma Felker, Jay Wilniff, who is not able to be here, Michelle Stimson, who is not able to be here, Marta Rogers, Paulo Galina, Eileen Melnichuk, Jean-Sebastian Blais, Dan Boyd, and Lenore Morris. So that's a huge slate of candidates. So it really shows that there's engagement in municipal politics, and this is your opportunity to hear about your candidates' views on the same themes that the mayoral candidates just presented on. So they'll have the same opportunity for a 2-minute intro. We'll run through the candidates, and then they will have the opportunity to answer 2 questions, 2 minutes each, and in the same format. So reading out the question, and then you have 2 minutes to answer, and you get a 2-minute closing. And then we will have our next batch of candidates. So I'm going to get started with Jean-Sebastian Blais for a 2-minute intro, and then we'll move down the line. Thanks.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all of you for coming here tonight. I will address you today with enthusiasm and knowing that I'm speaking my second language. I hope I will have a good British accent. So, I'm Jean-Sébastien Blais. I live here in Whitehorse since 2009. After having studied in political science and in negotiation in grade schools, I came here, and very quickly, I look at this city and I was like, we need to be involved. And Dorothy and I, even though I was not born here, we had our 3 kids here. And I've been involved in many things to help this community. I've been for 6 years at the liquor board to better understand how we can, from a liquor perspective, help our businesses. I've been for 6 years in human rights, the Human Rights Commission, and the adjudicator, because I believe in the dignity of everyone. I've been involved in education because I believe that we need a public education that is strongly supporting our youth to excel, to tackle the issue of tomorrow. I've been involved because I believe that we need to be. I'm coming with not solution, rather I'm coming with values, a way to look at things. I've been trained to be a policy analyst, to be involved in evaluation of programs and services. I've been trusted with many positions in different governments. I'm old enough to have experience, but I'm young enough to learn a lot from all my colleagues. What I want to bring is a sense of curiosity for the complex issue that we have, not to tell a solution, but to rather face the complexity, try to understand, and by discussing with my colleagues, to come with something better. Thank you.
Perfect timing. And Dan, and then Norma and Paulo.
Thank you. I am Dan Boyd. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring the event, and thank you for everybody that's come out to listen and to hear the views of prospective mayor and councillors. I was born and raised in Whitehorse. I've raised my 3 children here. They're now adults, and I enjoy 5 great, sorry, I want to call them great, they are great grandchildren. Whitehorse has been a fantastic place for me to be born and raised in, for my children, for my grandchildren. We are a great city. There's always work to do. It's always changing. It's growing. And we suffer on certain fronts. We always have, and we will. Job of councillors have, and the city has, is to try to recognize those strains and stresses, plan for them, and respond to them. And sometimes we get it right, and sometimes we don't necessarily get it that right, and we have to regroup and go back at it. There are a lot of challenges facing the city right now. We've heard about them tonight. You'll hear more about them tonight. Fiscal challenges are huge, bigger than they've ever been, and they're not going to go away. We've got top 10 issues, if you like, from infrastructure to housing, funding, the list goes on. You need a council that'll come together, work together, listen to the community, apply common sense, and come up with good adaptive solutions. That's what I try to do, that's what I've been doing, and I'll try to continue to do that. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Norma.
Okay, hello, my name is Norma Felker. I was born and raised Yukoner, and I'm currently living in Copper Ridge. I'm a backstage veteran with respect to the work of Whitehorse City Council. I worked at City Hall for more than 30 years, and in all of that time, I was involved in the support of council business. This meant that I worked with the various city departments in the development of reports that gave council the information they needed to make informed decisions. I also worked with staff from all departments on the development of policies and bylaws and became familiar with the process that is involved in getting them put in place. I also got an opportunity to become very familiar with the Yukon Territorial Municipal Act and learn how the rules and regulations of the senior government impact what the city can do and what they can't do. I feel that this breadth of knowledge and experience is something that I can put to good use on behalf of the citizens of Whitehorse as a member of City Council. I also want to point out that I have no political aspirations. I sincerely believe that there is no place for politics and support for the party line at the municipal level. Council members need to park their political aspirations and affiliations outside of council chambers and work together with the single-minded goal of making Whitehorse the best place to live, work, and play. I love this city. I've lived here for decades, had no plans ever to leave. I look at serving on City Council as a way to contribute to making this the best place.
Wonderful. Thank you, Norma. Paolo, and then Jenny.
Thanks, Mathia. Good evening, everyone. My name's Paulo Galina, and I'm running to be your next Whitehorse City Councillor. I'm proud to have called this beautiful city home for over 20 years. I acknowledge and honor the traditional territories that we're on today of the Kwanlin Dun First Nation and the Ta'anquechong Council, and I respect and continually learn from their cultural practices and ways of knowing, being, and doing. As a city, we face both opportunities and challenges, from protecting our environment to building a thriving, inclusive community. My platform is about creating safer neighborhoods, stronger infrastructure, and a healthier, more vibrant Whitehorse for all of us. To do this, I'll leverage my experience in having worked in the private sector with large companies and small businesses where the demands to perform and be accountable are real. I'll draw upon my time as an MLA where important constituent caseworks and advocacy were top priority, and the need to work collectively with all Yukon First Nations, the federal government, municipalities, and community stakeholder groups was taken very seriously. As well, I'll take time to reflect and be grounded in my volunteer experience, from coaching youth sports, leading community cleanups, regularly meeting with community associations, to volunteering with groups such as the Whitehorse Lions Club, who work hard to give back to the community. We do need bold decisions on a number of significant files that impact all of us. And just as importantly, we need bold action in how we're going to move forward with our partners, citizens, in a good way. I'm running for City Council for my father and our elders who regularly use important city services, for my daughters and the youth of today, in hopes that we can leave our community services in a better position for future generations, for those in our community that need someone to stand up for them, and for people like you who want to be proud of our city with a strong sense of belonging and an ability to grow and explore. Together, we can build that city. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Jenny.
Hi, my name's Jenny Hamilton. I moved to Whitehorse in 1973. I was exactly 2 weeks old. My parents, Norm and Anna Hamilton, moved here for work. They worked with my Uncle Ross and my Aunt Lois Hamilton in a place that is called Trails North. Their careers moved on in their way. My father worked in justice for a lot of years, but we also owned a pet store, so he was an entrepreneur. I've spent my entire life here, and I have no plans of leaving it, mostly because my wife won't let me. Our parents are here. We're here to look after them as well. I started my work career in the trades. I'm a red-sealed mechanic. I then moved back into the arts and have spent over 20 years as an arts administrator, a theater technician, a producer, and sometimes an entertainer. I may run the smallest business in the city. It's called Jenny Hamilton's Comedy Career. I chose to run for City Council because so many people encouraged me to do it. They know my work. They know my work ethic. They know I'm a collaborator, I'm fiscally responsible, and I care about every member of this city, every citizen. I play well with others. They convinced me that maybe these skills I had could make a difference and could help. I'm not a career politician. I hope to do some good and then get back to making some funny. And that's why I chose to run. Thank you.
Tony, Eileen, and then Anne.
Hello, I would like to thank everyone for coming here today. My name's Tony Lungard. Do I need to go closer?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, I'm Tony Lungard. I want to thank everyone here coming here today. I've lived most of my life in Whitehorse. I grew up seeing my parents own a small business themselves, specifically Tony's Pizza, and seeing my grandmother on being a politician for over 27 years. She was one of the main inspirations that drove me to run for this. And I want to support local businesses here in town. Memories coming back. I lived my entire adult life being really worried about housing, and it always bothered me that things just feel like they're not changing, and I see how they can change, but I feel like it doesn't. So I want to try fixing that and helping people of the community and helping the business owners themselves, because I've worked for large corporations that just treated me terribly, and I've seen them treat their customers terribly. And I want to support the local businesses here in town to build more of a Whitehorse personality rather than the same sort of blandness I see down south. And I feel like I can do that through running for City Council. And thank you.
Thank you. Eileen and then Anne. Oh. Press.
Hi. Hi, I'm Eileen Melanchuk, and I am running for City Council because I believe in our city's huge potential. Like many of you here, I too am a born and raised Yukoner, and I returned to Whitehorse in 2006, and I've been here since. My experience spans community organizations, local businesses, and government. As an experienced chair and board member of numerous community organizations, and as a longtime advocate for community-driven change, I understand how we have to collaborate to address the serious issues the city's facing and work together to deliver real results for residents of Whitehorse. My platform is based on 3 key pillars: sustainability. I'll prioritize climate resilient infrastructure projects without increasing taxes. That will be some juggling. Ensuring roads, fire breaks, and water systems are prepared for the future. I will also work and advocate for businesses as they adapt to environmental challenges, which is crucial for long-term sustainability. Under the banner of livability, I want to work with all our stakeholders, including listening to our residents, to address our rising crime rates and developing safety reforms, safety processes, and I'm trying to think of the word, to address the need for improved safety downtown, and I feel that this is an urgent matter. If elected, I would like to propose that we develop a business advisory council to unite businesses, community groups, and government to improve safety through uniting our forces to sustain and stronger coordination with all stakeholders.
Thank you.
I didn't even get to talk about affordability.
Anne?
Thanks, Mithia. My name is Ann Midler. You might know me as the Kicksled Lady, as I've operated the Kicksled Revolution downtown for 9 years. Since moving to the Yukon more than 2 decades ago, I've done a lot of other stuff too, with the Yukon News, First Nations governments, Yukon College, Yukon Conservation Society, the Utilities Board, the Fiddleheads, the Downtown Residents Association, and the Yukon Chamber of Commerce Energy Committee. I'm grateful for this wealth of experience, as I've had the opportunity and privilege to work with so many different people in our community with diverse perspectives and needs. Living and running a business downtown, I see the serious issues that are compromising people's sense of safety and security. I have experienced the real financial and psychological impacts of vandalism and theft. I'm glad the conversation around harm reduction is expanding into reducing community harm, not just reducing harm to those in active addiction. I love being downtown. We must work together with governments, agencies, and businesses to make sure we have a vibrant community where people and businesses feel safe and supported. I've spent a lot of time lately in conversations with people about safety. Safety is not just related to downtown crime and the substance use emergency or problems at the shelter, it's multifaceted. Many people are worried about the safety of everyone trying to get around the city, not in a vehicle. We need to ensure people of all ages and abilities can get around safely. Remember, every person on a bus or a bike or a kicksled is a customer or an employee. I would be honored to represent you on a team tasked with finding common ground and making tough decisions. My name's Ann Midler. I'm asking for your vote on October 17.
Thank you. So we have now the question period. And it's going to go Anne, and then Jean-Sebastien Blais, and then Dan Boyd. So Anne, you can read out your first question, and you'll have 2 minutes to answer.
Thank you. This is on the topic of housing and development. The question is, what specific actions will you take to create affordable housing solutions that support both residents and local business employees? Luckily, the city has existing... Sorry?
Can you just reset? So we have, read the question, and then you get 2 minutes to answer. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
The clock starts after I've read the question?
Yep,
Okay.
thanks.
Do you want to hear the question again?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. Affordable housing, what actions will you take? Well, fortunately, the city has existing plans, the official community plan. We've got some plans for new housing developments, Valley View South, Range Point, Kajan and Rogers, 5th and Rogers. We can also be dealing with vacant lots and derelict buildings downtown to be increasing density. But I think when we think about what can the city do to facilitate and accommodate housing development? We really need to look at the permitting and inspection situation. It's really unfortunate what happened this year, and the ripple effects will probably be felt for quite a while, for perhaps years to come. The city introduced some significant changes to the permit requirement with no warning, and that hobbled the building industry because they couldn't move forward with their builds, and also it overwhelmed the capacity of the professionals required in these new requirements, designers and engineers. And on top of that, the municipality wasn't well prepared to manage the amount of work that the changes granted. So there needs to be better engagement, there needs to be accountability, and the city needs to make sure that its role in stated priorities, such as affordable housing, they're not inadvertently putting up barriers to achieving those. So it's about improving proper processes and making sure that there's good relationships between the city, the land and building, and the home building industry, because we really need to ensure that the home building industry is able to do what we need them to do, which is create housing solutions in the city of Whitehorse. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. And Jean-Sébastien Blais, can you read your question in 2 minutes?
Yes, the topic is crime and public safety. The question is this following. Crime rates are rising in Whitehorse. What steps will you take to make our neighborhoods and businesses safer? So there's 2 points here, neighborhood and businesses. Let me just say that my passion or my focus here is, as a councillor, to focus well on the official community plan. This is what we have to implement. And when you look at the OCP Whitehorse 2040, safety is mentioned. We talked about the crime prevention strategy. So the first step from an OCP perspective will be to have the funding from our partners, Yukon government mainly, to fund well the implementation of that strategy. So this is from an OCP point of view. In terms of concrete steps to take for the neighborhood, I'm thinking about public spaces. This is also mentioned in the OCP. Public spaces are parks, our bus stops, mainly. You want to think about that, our venues. What do we have in our parks, in our bus stops, to make sure that people threatened by someone or something can activate a system to alarm authorities about the danger that they are facing? So equipping those venues, spaces, will, I'm sure, help our neighborhoods to be safer. And in terms of neighborhoods, I'm thinking about streets. The design currently does not work. On our places where we have a lot of volume, it's difficult to know if one day you will not have an accident. And in terms of businesses, one is thinking about camera in our core downtown. Schools in Yukon are using camera to reduce vandalism. Perhaps we can have a pilot project to look at if it's possible with our partners, the Coalition Anti-Poverty, to see if it's something that can be a useful solution to reduce the act of vandalism and to make our core downtown more safer. So thank you. Those are very concrete, but those are ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Then Dan and then Norma.
Thank you. My question is under housing and development. And the question is, given the current housing crisis in Whitehorse, what specific strategies will you implement to expedite the processing of building permits and ensure that more housing units are constructed in a timely manner? This issue is pretty dear to my heart because certainly we witnessed how it unfolded this year with the developers and the builders having a lot of difficulty obtaining building permits. And where we normally put a building permit out for a typical house in 2 to 3 weeks, it went up to 6, 8 weeks, sometimes more, and a lot of back and forth between the permitting process and the developer. I could speak for an hour or two on this issue alone, so I've got to try and find a way to get it down to 2 minutes. But Some of the things, it's an ongoing problem. It has gotten better. The city has to put, and is trying to put more resources to it. We have to go back and review the communications on stuff on how did we get into this situation and what can we do about it going forward. So we'll be doing that. We have to consult with the industry to find out the best ways that we can streamline and improve the building permitting process. It's not going to be easy. It's an issue that's going on across Canada. But one thing we had in our favor is we were really good and very quick at issuing the permits. That's now changed, and it's gotten very complicated, and it's driving up costs, and it's hurting the economy. The building industry economy almost came to a standstill this summer because of this issue. People were getting laid off in what would normally be our busiest season. So we have made improvements. We're very aware of it. We're working hard on it. This council will work hard on it. It will be a top issue. And, communications, consultation, and a drive to streamline and improve the process is where my focus will be. Thanks.
Norma, if you want to go ahead and read your question, and 2 minutes.
Well, my question is again on housing and development, and how do you plan to ensure that more commercial and industrial lots become available during your term? It's a pretty tough one because a lot of the land that's available belongs to somebody else, and so we have, as a council, we're going to have limited ability to ensure that this becomes available. However, I advocate to have measures put in place to promote the development of viable sites that are not being utilized, such as the many sites in the downtown core that contain abandoned buildings or have been held undeveloped for years. There's the initial progress, if it's going to be made, has to involve strong collaboration with the government of Yukon. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Thanks, Mathia. My first theme is on relationships and partnerships. What steps would you take to strengthen collaboration with Yukon First Nations and enhance community partnerships? There were two themes that stood out for me tonight that we were choosing questions from. One was government performance and the other one was relationships and partnerships. If we don't have strong performance measures as a council and administration, and we're not working collaboratively with ourselves as mayor and council and with our partners, we're not going to be able to tackle any of the issues that are in front of us today. These two themes are foundational to moving the city of Whitehorse forward in a good way, where citizens are able to measure our performance and see themselves in our work if we're collaborating. What I would like to propose is that our strategic priorities that the government set, the mayor and council set at the beginning of each term, move into a mandate, and I'd like that mandate to be for all mayor and council. I would like that to show what we will attempt to accomplish at the end of 4 years. Part of that mandate would be strengthening our collaboration with Yukon First Nations and community partners. If there's political will, then it can happen. I appreciate Mayor Candidate Cameron's procedural structure, and that's important, but with political will and with a desire to connect stronger with Yukon First Nations, I think we can have regular forums, we can have regular meetings, we can establish what our priorities are as a municipality that connect with Yukon First Nations. We can establish what our priorities are together as a municipality and with our Yukon First Nations. And we can go and communicate those priorities to the territorial government, to the federal government, and that is one way that we can work together to move some pretty significant projects forward, whether they're infrastructure, whether it's land development, whether it's capital projects, and that's how I would strengthen our relationships with Yukon First Nations. Thank you.
Thank you. Jenny, Tony, and then Eileen.
Thank you. Climate resilience. As climate-related disasters become more frequent, what proactive steps will you take to prepare Whitehorse for challenges like wildfires and flooding? Well, my friends who are firefighters have informed me it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it comes to wildfires. So we need to prepare. We need emergency response teams. We make sure that they are adequately trained and equipped. This may include bylaw, the food bank, and local businesses such as airlines. We need to support those local businesses to help us in our time of need. Flooding maps. We can create flooding maps, detailed flood maps to identify areas of high risk of flooding and develop appropriate mitigation measures. But we need to also have public awareness, campaigns. We need to educate residents of wildfire prevention. I know they have great programs for smarting, and that's wonderful. An importance of staying informed. Not everybody is on social media. And the potential consequences of ignoring evacuation. And if we have a plan, there's a good chance the city has a plan for all of this already. But as a citizen right now, I don't know the plan. And at some point, we might end up on a highway together, heading one way. I don't want to leave those who didn't get the Facebook post behind. So we need to have that set up. And I trust the experts in what they do when it comes to our safety. I take safety very important. I think that's it. I think that's all I'm going to say to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony and then Eileen.
So my first question is, recognizing the importance of small businesses, what initiatives would you champion to support local entrepreneurs and stimulate economic growth? As a person that's a child of a local business owner, I would love to see the city build a public market, a place that allows something like the Farwood Market to run year-round and to allow businesses of all sizes to get their start in Whitehorse, and it would have like takeout. Because every time I travel, I love to go to them, and they always have a greater sense of the local culture rather than just every other strip mall that I see down south. They're lively, they're wonderful places, and I believe Whitehorse is the perfect size to have one now. That's about it. I would want to build a public market in Whitehorse. Thank you.
Thank you. Eileen?
Hi. My question is, given the serious issues of break-and-enters, shoplifting, and threats to staff, how will you collaborate with local businesses and all levels of government to develop and implement effective crime prevention strategies? So, first of all, I think that we need, and this has been said already, we need stronger collaboration and accountability among all our stakeholders. One of the measures that I would introduce, which I've referred to before, is a downtown advisory council to create regular dialogue between our businesses, the RCMP, Yukon First Nations, YG, and the city. This council could provide real-time feedback and develop targeted strategies to address repeat offenders, shoplifting, and property crime. Another thing is I feel strongly about is I think one of the roles the city can play is to develop and enforce bylaws that help prevent or hinder crime. So some of the things like we don't have a trespassing bylaw. We could look at that and introduce that. We need noise bylaws. And I think there's a number of others that once I was in council I would learn more about. But I think that's a role the city could play to help keep our neighborhoods safe. I think we have to be we have to be a really strong advocate for our citizens. We have to make sure that YG and the federal government know that these matters must become a priority for YG and the RCMP and the federal government, with the city being an ally and a strong advocate for safer neighborhoods. At the end of the day, we need to see leadership from the territorial and federal government that supports the city in its initiatives to protect our citizens. And they need to provide the money. Those governments have the money and the resources to support us. I really believe that a city working hand in hand with businesses, NGOs, and Yukon First Nations will be able to succeed and find measures and, think creatively to come up with solutions to the real serious issues we're facing right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we're moving into the second round of questions. And to keep the flow going, we have Eileen, Anne, and then Jean-Sebastien.
Oh, okay.
Yep. It's you again.
What specific policy changes would you advocate for to ensure that small businesses can survive and thrive in our economy? Well, Jean-Sebastien and I have sat on many policy committees. I like talking about policy because you can actually, make a difference and it's easy to change. Okay, so fixing the permitting process is essential. Everyone here has mentioned that already. And this is essential to ensure our businesses can expand efficiently. Businesses can build staff housing, but currently they're really shackled by the permitting process. It's a critical issue that the city needs to work with the staff to speed up the permitting process. I think we can do this by increasing staff or optimizing our technology, but in the end, we need to cut red tape. We must also address the changing goalposts that often businesses see in the licensing and permitting for service industries, for instance, bars and restaurants. When the goalposts say for the size of a patio is not consistent from year to year, this makes it very difficult for businesses to make long-term plans and inevitably to be more efficient and to save funds. I would work very hard to bring these processes to be more consistent and more compliant and meet the needs of our businesses. So that again would mean expediting city processes. Additionally, I propose working closely with businesses to explore opportunities to improve Sunday operations. Currently, there's really seems to be a lack of open restaurants and museums that are open on the weekends, which could benefit both our residents and our tourist industry. Finally, the city needs to work with Yukon government and Yukon First Nations and the Chamber of Commerce to ensure that we have enough employees so that our businesses can operate full-time and not have to close earlier or open later or close on weekends. So I think
Thanks
that's
so
a
much.
role we can play. Okay.
Anne, and then Jean-Sebastien.
Thank you. This is a similar question to the one that I had and the one that Eileen just answered, but it's under the topic of governance and council performance. And the question is, what steps will you take to improve city processes like permits and licensing to better support local businesses? I think that we talked a little bit about the building industry and the struggles that we've faced bringing new housing onto the market this year. We do need to recall and remember that permitting, licensing, and inspections, those are all there for a very good reason. We need to protect home buyers. We need to make sure that that rules are being abided to and things like that. There's very good reason for these regulations in place. But we need to also make sure that, again, the city's not providing barriers to people who want to do great things in our community. So I think that having some regular dialogue with the business community to make sure that we're identifying where there's problems and also going both ways. If there's a particular industry where things are going to be changing, giving lots of lead time so that everybody's prepared to to roll things out when it comes. There's not really any big surprises. How can we have partnerships with the business community, better partnerships and collaborative projects, and just to encourage more engagement, two-way communication, some accountability, making sure that the relationships are good, and especially with everything, establish common ground and shared priorities, and then make an action plan, identify and clarify whose roles it is to do what, and make it happen. We do have some critical issues in the downtown core. Despite that, I love being downtown. I'm so grateful that the people who live in the Housing First building across the street from me have a place to live. That's better than the alternative. And in some ways, their presence enhances my own sense of security, which might be counterintuitive to some people, but that's part of living downtown. Thank you.
Jean-Sébastien, and then Dan.
Merci beaucoup. So the question is on the topic of governance and council performance. So how will you work to understand the issues facing residents of Whitehorse, develop and implement policies and programs to address these issues, and measure and communicate the success or lack of success of related initiatives? In terms of understanding the issue faced by all of us, I think we need to value neighborhood association. And by that, I don't mean just to value the fact that we have association around in our neighborhoods, but to imagine a formula that's similar to Supreme Court of Canada Chief Justice Wagner, who took the Supreme Court of Canada to Winnipeg in 2019, to Quebec City in 2022. And if Chief Justice Wagner was able to move that court out of Ottawa, I think we can move that council out of City Hall to meet you where you are in your neighborhood, to better know your neighborhood. Because I value the human relations. And when I do door-to-door these days, I learn so much than reading what I have on my screen. So I value the human dimension of leadership. In terms of developing and implementing policies and programs, for me, I may seem a bit like short, but everything comes from the OCP. From the OCP, there's values, there's a vision. I think we need to evaluate our policies and bylaws against the spirit of the OCP. By doing that, we will have policies aligned with a vision that hundreds of citizens have contributed to shape in the past few months. In terms of measuring and communicating the success or lack of success, if we are following the logic of candidate Mayor Kirk Cameron, we may have, $1 billion to deal with. $1 billion, you need a culture of evaluation, because you need to show from the $1 billion received that you spend that well, on time, and according to plan, and according to a vision too. So I think for that, we need a culture of evaluation, and that will help the culture of reporting. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. Dan?
Thank you. My question is on relations and partnerships, and the specific question is, how will you engage local businesses in economic decisions-making processes? Well, I think starting with their chambers of commerce, the other chambers that we have, Yukon First Nation Chamber, sorry for not getting the title quite perfect there, but the Yukon Chamber, that we have tourism associations and stuff, engaging them. And we do. The City of Whitehorse has been very active with the Whitehorse Chamber of Commerce. We have representation on the chamber. We meet with them regularly. They meet with us. We share issues. We try to work together, and we do work together. There's lots of examples of working together. But, I mean, reach out, working with our chambers, consulting, sharing information, and reviewing what we do. Because often when we do it, it isn't perfect the first time, and it has to be reevaluated and adjusted. We last 2 years ago, we closed Main Street and had it set up as a street festival for the summer. We reviewed that. Some businesses didn't care for how that worked out. We adjusted. We made changes, and that. So we've got to be brave. We've got to try things. We've got to work with them, and we do. So we'll continue to do that. There are other organizations that I would like to get more relationships with, the Yukon Contractors Association and stuff. And we're picking at that too through the Chamber of Commerce, which is great. And so for me, it's mostly just working with the community and other governments, of course. So thanks.
Thank you. Norma, Paulo, and then Jenny.
My question is on governance and council performance. And the question is, what actions will you take to promote transparency and accountability in city government? The reality of this is that transparency and accountability is more visible with city government than it is with any other level. We are mandated to have public hearings with major bylaws. There's 3 readings for every bylaw that is passed. Every policy that is passed comes before council to be discussed and before it is voted on. Our major discussions take place at a standing committee meeting rather than before it comes forward to be actually voted on. Our major bylaws, such as our finance bylaws, they require public input. That's mandated to be public input there. Our accountability as a council is going to be enhanced by probably advocating for more opportunities for citizens to address council at a meeting. But I think a major tool is going to be the promotion of things like town hall meetings, where it encourages get in informal gatherings where people can freely voice their opinions and concerns and identify issues that are not being addressed or that have been inadequately assessed. And I also wanted to say that I really am grateful for the opportunity that has been provided for us to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Paulo.
Thanks, Mithia. My second theme is on crime and public safety. Given the serious issues of break-and-enters, shoplifting, and threats to staff, how will you collaborate with local businesses and levels of government to develop and implement effective crime prevention strategies? Thank you for that question. It's important, and it's the first priority that is listed within my platform that I've released. And I would say up front that the city absolutely has a role to play in keeping citizens safe and must be an active part of the solution. This requires political will and leadership, both of which I'm prepared to bring forward to find solutions towards our challenges within our community and in certain parts of our community for sure. Collaboration, I would like to see structured, regular gatherings, forums, and from those structured forums with all partners, Yukon First Nations, law enforcement, first responders, MLAs, community associations, local organizations, and I'd like to create plans that are actionable. I'd like to move away from language that's review and analyze, and I would like to get to language that's council will vote on, council will bring this forward for a vote. I think that's important and goes to the piece that I was speaking about earlier, where I'd like to get into a mandate. I appreciate that everything that's brought forward isn't going to be adopted, but I think we need to put those difficult decisions in front of us as council to be able to make the important decisions so that people know how we're moving, where we're moving, and where we're not moving, so that those gaps can be filled. I'm supportive of establishing our priorities with the Yukon government, with the federal government, communicating what those community safety priorities are. I'm supportive of community safety officers and trained professionals, primarily in our downtown community, that could be supporting an RCMP presence. And there's a number of other items that we can look at. Thank you.
Thanks. Jenny?
My second question is about tourism. Tourism has always been a major element of economic sustainability in Whitehorse through jobs, entrepreneurship, and small and medium business ventures. What are your views on the proposed new convention center, and what do you see as the city's role in realizing the vision of seeing it built and becoming an amazing facility? Build it and they will come. We need tourism. The more tourism we have, the better this place will be financially. Bring them in. We all want our friends to come, right? As bigger cities are closing down venues, you watch them hurt. So I'm very excited that they are proposing a convention center for meetings, for conventions, obviously, but also for festivals, year-round festivals. We need to start bringing each other together and having fun again. This will bring in people from the communities as well. It gives us hope in the dark of winter. These are good things. I think the city could be a leader by supporting this project and ensuring that it aligns with the overall economic strategy of Whitehorse. Funding, we may need to add funding. I don't know if the city has money set aside for this, but in collaboration with First Nations, YG governments, maybe we hit the feds as a group. Who knows what they got out there, but we can always try. Or public and private partnerships as well. Marketing and promotion, this is, I think, where the city could do really well. Once it's built, the city could play a key role in marketing and promoting to potential visitors and event organizers. We have the talent here to keep that place busy. Bigger names want to come. Build it, and they will come. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Tony.
So my next question is on the housing and development. Given the current housing crisis in Whitehorse, what specific strategies will you implement to expedite the process of building permits and ensure that more housing units are constructed in a timely manner? I've tried to look in how the permitting system works, and I still have no idea how it works. It is so complicated, and there's just too many things that require a permit, which I personally don't think it should. So I would have council review all building permits and drop any of ones that don't really need it, and have a sort of pre-approval process for certain permits to bring down the construction time and all the red tape. Because in Canada, I think we're either number 1 or number 2 in the longest construction time across G7 countries, which is a terrible decision to be in given our current housing crisis. And just, I don't know how else I could possibly figure it out. It's just too complicated. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah. I guess I'm also closing remarks, eh?
Yes, you get to do your closing. Why should people vote for you as one of the 11 candidates for council.
So the election is only in like, what, 2 weeks, I think? Or is it 2 weeks or 3 weeks? 2? Okay. Wow, that's coming up fast. When you cast your ballot on the 17th, vote long-term, because the decisions any council will make will affect the city of Whitehorse for decades to come. And if I love this city. I want to see it grow. I want to see it improve. I want to see it be cleaned up. I want Whitehorse to have its own unique identity amongst a growing kind of sameness of cities across North America. And it's depressing when I'm driving with my uncle across BC to go for a family thing, and we pass through Dawson Creek, Fort St. John's and Grand Prairie, and everywhere just looks the same. And it brings this kind of grim outlook that if every city is just slowly becoming the same, what's the point of even choosing somewhere different to live? So I want Whitehorse to be unique and different in its own way. And thank you for having me.
Thank you. And I misspoke. There's 6 councillors. So there's 18 candidates for 6 councillor positions. Pardon me. So Tony, thank you for that. We have Eileen and then Anne and then Jean Sebastian.
Hi again. So I'm running for City Council because I think that Whitehorse needs leadership that listens, advocates for everyone, and delivers results. My experience from managing large projects with many of our NGOs, supporting small businesses and serving on boards over the years has taught me the value of collaboration, community engagement, and strong leadership. Tonight, we've talked about a lot of problems we're facing, but we've also talked about sometimes flipping the switch and coming up with innovative solutions. And that makes me feel really good for the future and the council that we could end up having. Again, for housing, I'm calling for better engagement with contractors and developers, and I think that we could consider a third-party review of the city's permitting process to cut red tape and accelerate affordable housing. Public safety, I want to work with businesses, citizens, YG, the RCMP, and Yukon First Nations to address safety through community-driven solutions. Some say we don't have a role. Yes, we do. The city absolutely has a role to play in finding solutions to make our neighborhoods safer. For economic growth, my focus is on keeping taxes low and ensuring the city sticks to its core responsibilities, allowing businesses to thrive while operating fiscally responsibly. What sets me apart is the ability to build consensus, get things done. I've worked in public service, advocated for change, and led initiatives that delivered real results. I also want a council, as has been mentioned earlier, that meets our residents out of the council chambers. We need to sit down and have coffee meetings with residents in their neighborhoods to find out what their issues are. I prioritize community-driven solutions, listen to all of you, and work for a city that supports both residents and businesses. Whitehorse has incredible potential, and with your support, we can shape a future where our economy grows, neighborhoods are safe, and businesses succeed.
Thank you. Jean-Sébastien and then Dan.
Bonsoir tout le
Oh, sorry.
monde.
Oh, pardon me. Oh, I'm sorry. It was Anne. My apologies. It's getting late.
You got a whole other hour after this,
I know.
Cynthia. Thank you to the Chamber, the Whitehorse Chamber of Commerce, for hosting this event, and thank you, Mathia, and thanks to everybody for coming out and for listening. It's valuable to hear from all the candidates as we all decide who to vote for to represent our city. We need a strong team that shows leadership, responsibility, and accountability to taxpayers. If elected, I commit to working hard with the new mayor and council to make our city strong and resilient and livable, despite the challenges that we're facing from rapid growth, the effects of climate change, social issues, and financial constraints. Our city is a rare gem, and we're so lucky to live here. I know I feel that way every single day. We're growing quickly. We must keep up with the core municipal infrastructure and services that we all count on every day. I want to thank the people who have served and those who put their names forward. It's a daunting task, and it's the only job where you are hired by the community. What an honor. Since I decided to seek nomination for council, I've been grateful for the enthusiastic and broad-based support I've received. And I hope that if you don't know me or are undecided, I can earn your confidence and your vote. But judging from tonight, our city will be in good hands. I'm really happy and pleased to meet the other candidates and get to learn more. I hope I get a chance to knock on your door. Maybe I'll see you next week at Magnetic North. Please reach out to me. You can find my propaganda on the back table. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to hearing the other candidates. Please consider voting for me on October 17 for a thriving, equitable, and prosperous city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jean-Sébastien, you.
I guess it's take two. So let's do that again. Bonsoir. Okay. So I am seeking nomination for City Council because I have concern like you for our safety, for our innovation and governance, for our ability to not ask you to meet us, but for us to meet you. And for me, I want to bring my energy toward the implementation and the good implementation, the excellent implementation of our official community plan. It's your vision that is in this document. I want to do my best to implement well, to monitor the result, and to report back to you. I believe in the human dimension of leadership. I believe that human interaction are at the forefront of what is it to be within a community. And you can trust me that I will always keep that as a high value, to meet you in person, to converse with you, and hopefully you will invite me on your couch. The point is also, I think it's important to seek someone with values, and I'm a collegial man. I believe in due diligence. I think that we have to be loyal, not to anyone else than you. And I think that this is having something of an appeal to me. Je suis heureux aussi d'offrir au conseil municipal de Whitehorse la possibilité de servir des gens en français. C'est quelque chose qui n'est jamais arrivé dans ce conseil, et j'espère pouvoir le faire si vous m'élisez. I'm happy to come forward and to bring your council with the ability to serve your citizens in both official languages. And I think with that, my desire that Tan Quachan Council and Kwanadon First Nation will be strong partners in our future. Thank you for your trust, and thank you for your support.
Ganeshchi, Shonitan, merci. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to the Whitehorse Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this. It's great, and you do it always, and you have done it for a long time, and I hope you'll continue to do it. So, Whitehorse is a fantastic place to live. To me, it's been great my whole life. It's changed. It's going to continue to change. It's growing. It has challenges. But we don't often spend much time talking about all of our strengths and what we have to offer. Newcomers coming here see it, take one of those things away, and you'll hear about it, like close the pool for a few hours, and our phones are ringing. So, people appreciate it, and they know. We do spend a lot of time dwelling on our issues, and, in a lot of ways, rightly so. I do spend a lot of time laying awake, worrying about the problems that we face and trying to figure out how are we going to tackle them. And one thing I've learned is that no one individual is going to tackle them. No one government's going to tackle them. But collectively, including the business community, including the public, we can, and we have, and we're going to continue. But you can't ask a single councillor to fix something. It's just not going to happen. But they can certainly prod at it and work at it and work as a team. I have a desire to continue. I've been on council for a fair time now. I offer myself up to continue. It's totally up to you. You've got to place your votes, and if people would like me to continue, I will. I have the time, and I have the interest, and I have the experience. So, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Norma.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. The city has core responsibilities that have to be addressed within limited budgets. We all understand the issues that have been the major focus of tonight's meeting, but I hope that this incoming council will be able to focus a lot of attention on the basic services that are the core mandate of municipal government. We're talking about things like infrastructure with water and sewer. We're talking about fire protection. We're talking about maintenance of streets and roads. And we need to make sure that we spend a lot of time talking about transit, because the transit system has to be able to serve the whole population efficiently and effectively. And as a transit user, I'm not feeling the vibe for that. So but those are core municipal responsibilities, and I'm hoping that this council, whoever is elected, will be open to collaborating, working together as a team to address the issues that are foremost important to the citizens of Whitehorse. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Paulo.
I'm Paulo Galina. I'm a collaborative leader. I'm dedicated to my work and serving this community, and I bring experience to this role. I want to thank Mathia and the Chamber, Joel and Andre and team for hosting an informed evening, and I feel like a productive session. As well, I want to thank city officials for their work in creating a valuable opportunity for citizens to vote for their mayor and council, and the work required to transition from one council to the next. This is no small feat. Finally, I want people to remember that on the 17th, you can vote at any polling station within the city, and there is no time limit when you're in that booth, and you can take all the time you need to find Galina, which is 14th on the list of 18 candidates. Thank you.
I thought Jenny was going to get the last laugh, but good one. Ooh. No pressure. Go ahead, Jenny.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Whitehorse Chambers of Commerce for inviting us and for setting this all up and hosting this. I actually do know what it takes to do this, so thank you. I know what the front line does, and I am a frontline supporter. I just wanted to leave this idea, I guess. Whitehorse is an amazing place. That's why we're all here, right? I grew up in it, as I found out most of us did, who were some of us. It's a great place to live and work and play in. Are we feeling pain right now? Absolutely. Can we fix things? I believe we can. I think whoever is the mayor and council next, as long as they're working together with thinking generational, thinking of all people involved, they can make these fixes. If I'm elected, I will do my best to work collaboratively and for the people. I have no political alignments, by the way, Nora. So, yes, do vote. That's the most important thing. Get out on the 18th. If somebody needs a ride, go pick them up. Tell the bus driver, 17th, yes, of November. Anyways, it's the menopause, I'll be honest. Get out there. Encourage the young to vote. let's get out there and vote. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's our first group of councillor candidates. We have another group that is ready in the wings. I want to reiterate the dates. So advance polls, Thursday, October 10th, and at any polling station, I believe. And then the election day is Thursday, October 17th. So make sure you have those dates down and that you're registered to vote. And you can get all of this information on whitehorse.ca. So thanks again to our slate of candidates. Group 1. Yay, thank you. And take your tent cards, please, because we have another group.